Hi, Mascha.
Hi, Justin.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Nice to be here with you.
Good. I don't think the notification went out yet. We have a very empty room here, it looks like.
Let me just open mine. Yeah.
Hopefully, we get some people to join us. But yeah. So how are you today? How's everything good?
Yeah, good, good. So I just got back home, made myself a drink, and very excited to chat with you.
Yeah. So we're here today, obviously, to talk about Swiss tarot, which is a very broad category of a topic to talk about. But I figured we could catch up first. So, what have you been up to lately before we get into the discussion?
Well, it's been summer season, right? So it's the last day of summer for us here in Australia today. So yeah, I've had kind of a quiet summer in a sense with technology. I took a little break from YouTube in February, so I kind of posted a couple of videos, but I just pretty much took the month off, so I could just because we have things more open now. So our lockdown was over like a while back, and things are a little bit free and more open. So I'm back in my usual teaching mode, and I just kind of had to adjust. And with my intentions for this year, just to kind of spend a little bit less time on the screen, but rather enjoy the outdoors, especially when the weather is so nice and warm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I took a little bit of a break, but now I'm back on YouTube, at least YouTube and Instagram. Yeah.
And we have Wyoming Win who has joined us. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining.
Hello, how are you?
Have you got
Yes.
good? I'm glad that you're enjoying your summer and you took a nice little break, which is of course well deserved. Have you gotten anything interesting? Are you into any what are you into lately with tarot?
With tarot, well, lately I've been kind of studying tarot de Marseille, kind of again, like I always study tarot de Marseille, but I've been doing a bit more practices, especially that I kind of have a bit more time in the evening. So I've been rereading Camelia Elias's books and just doing the exercises, just kind of redoing the exercises that I haven't done before from there. So yeah, again, with tarot de Marseille. And when it comes to my new decks, I've only got like a couple of new decks. And when it comes to historic decks, I actually got the hand stenciled Jean Dodal from Roxanne Flanois. So it's just the Mages only deck that I got.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey Ben and Joey Luna are here. Thanks for coming.
Hi Ben, hi Joey. Nice to see you both.
If I tilt my head down, I don't get the light on my glasses. I just noticed that. But if I tilt it up, I'm getting the light. So I'm going to try and keep my head down a little bit. Which book are you reading of Camelia?
The one that I'm doing exercises is the one that I think you got, the course one, like, read like the Devil Tarot de Marseille. Because I've got all 3 tomes of hers, and it just seems to be with my Lenormand. I seems to like in colder month, I just reach for Lenormand and I go and learn Lenormand every year, or deepen my knowledge, I guess, and practice more. But in other seasons, I seem to be more with Tarot de Marseille. So yeah, that's the book that I've been revisiting. But a lot of the material is actually in the book is from the courses that I've done with her. So it's very quick, easy read for me, just more kind of refresher, and then just do exercises and do readings.
Nice. Yeah, I'm finding it really interesting. I've been reading it a lot, and it's very different in a lot of ways than, of course, how I was brought up. But I'm finding it very refreshing and kind of like helpful. You know what I mean? It's definitely very interesting. And I am reading mostly Read Like the Devil, but I do have a few of her other books too. I just haven't really cracked them yet. But I got to start doing a little more of her exercises. I find it very interesting, like the whole functionary approach, like looking at it from a functional standpoint as opposed to like archetypal, which is, it's a bit of a challenge, but it's interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I got a couple new things which might interest you. Well, today I know you'll love this. So this is one of my birthday gifts. That Stephen got me an Amazon gift card. And hi, Stephen. He's.
Oh, hi, Stephen. Yeah, I just saw you coming through.
And I got myself a couple things from Amazon, and this is one that I got.
Oh, that's so cool, Jean Noblet.
Yeah, it's the Death card. I thought it was cool. I don't know. I don't have any Tarot de Marseille shirts, and I like my T-shirts. So
Well, I need to get one. I need to find out from you where you got it from on Amazon.
Amazon. It was
Amazon. So you just googled like a tarot T-shirt.
Yeah, Tarot de Marseille. I think it came up. Actually, it came up by accident. Even I wasn't even looking for a T-shirt, but I was like, I'm gonna get that because I just like it. I don't know. It's kind of cool. So
it's very cool.
I wish they had the Hangman, but unfortunately they didn't, or like something different, And I got this. So I was watching Dustin's channel, and I saw that. Oh no, actually no. I was having a conversation with Dustin. I wasn't watching his shit. Usually, when I watch Dustin's channel, I end up buying myself something. But this was a conversation with Dustin, and it's the William Blake Tarot, which is really interesting. So I wasn't super familiar with William Blake, but I found this tarot very interesting, and it's really cool artwork. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, they remind me of the Red Book a little bit, by Carl Jung. And apparently, it's very possible that Jung was heavily influenced by Blake, because he did like the same kind of illustrations and stuff with his book. He did a lot of calligraphy and illustrations in like a journal type approach, and that's what William Blake did. So it was really interesting. I got that one and this one, the Radian Tarot, which I did not have before.
Do you like it? I've seen this one, but I've never seen the
really like it.
or
Yeah.
anything.
Hold on one second. Steven, can you turn that down? I keep hearing myself because Steven's like watching the live. Yeah, he's in the other room, but I keep hearing it's very distracting. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Radiant Tarot. So Zoe, our friend Zoe, was talking about this somewhere online, and I saw her, mentioning a few things, and I was like, oh, okay. And I checked it out. I was like, wow, it's really a cool tarot deck, and it has like a lot of literary references and stuff in it, but it seems very springtime, like springish. That's why I got it. I was like, well, spring's coming. I'm kind of in like a springtime mood. A few cards of it.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Sure. Yeah, while you're looking for the cards, you mentioned Carl Jung and that William Blake Tarot, so I'm kind of thinking archetypes. I picked up, I don't know if you have, do you have Kim Kranz's archetype round deck and guidebook thingy?
I love that. It's such
so I thought like you would, because I'm kind of this year, I'm also getting a little bit more into Carl Jung, and I've got the book that one of our friends, Anne, recommended to me to read, like his autobiography, I think. So kind of this only been, I only started reading it. It's one of my newer deck, but it's not a tarot deck. And I've made friends actually with Wild Unknown in February, so I'm obsessed about this one now as well.
Oh, you like the Wild Unknown?
Now I do, after a few years, and I did mention it in my life. It probably took the teen and the smaller size, I don't know, but maybe also where I am now, that I'm very comfortable with my RWS, I'm very comfortable with Tarot de Marseille, and when I first got the original copy, I kind of was only learning both of them, right, but more in a kind of separate way. So, and this one is sort of like a blended deck with its own, I guess, not system really, but its own way of depicting the cards and archetypes and animals and bringing them in.
Yeah, I do like that Wild Unknown deck, and I don't have the mini version, and you're tempting me. I should probably check it out because it's kind of nice to have like a small deck, and I do read that from time to time.
Yeah, it's so inexpensive. Like it's like one of probably the cheapest decks that I own. Yeah,
$12 or something. I saw it. I think of like with the Wild Unknown, I think of like, really getting into tarot. Of course I have a long history with tarot, got my first deck when I was 12, but it disappeared out of my life. But when I first got really back into tarot, that was like the popular deck. It was like the one that was, it was on the New York Times bestseller list. It was kind of an important deck in terms of the modern age because it really helped. It was one of the decks that I think, in my opinion, it helped to resurrect the popularity of the tarot. It was like one of the first real modern. I could be wrong about that, but it just seems that way, at least to me. But I remember looking at the deck and thinking, it was so intimidating at the time. You know? because I was so used to the Rider-Waite-Smith at that point. I remember looking at him like, wow, that's just like, it's going to take a lot of studying, a lot of reading to do that. Now, it's, of course, it's doesn't look that way to me.
No. Yeah, same for me. Yeah, it wasn't that intimidating, but it was just a bit confusing because, especially like having animals for people cards, it was just kind of really difficult concept for me to comprehend at the time. Yeah. I always loved the artwork.
This is the Radian. So these are the backs, which are, how pretty is that? I love the sun.
Yeah, very pretty. Yeah.
And it's really an interesting deck. It's got very beautiful watercolor art, and I don't know. I haven't worked with it or anything yet. Of course, I just got it. I barely really even looked through it, because I literally got it yesterday. But it's really pretty. So I'm looking forward to kind of using this, get into this springtime mindset, and mess around with it. So Edel Type 1 has thanked us for the video. Ben, of course, says hello. Steven says hello. Joey Luna. I thought somebody asked a question somewhere. That's what I was looking for. But Joey Luna says Wild, Unknown, and Lightseers were a breath of fresh air in the world of tarot for sure. Yeah, it was different. It was like, it was so different. I can't really explain it, but it was almost intimidating to me at first. It took me a while to kind of warm up to the Wild Unknown. So, but anyway, we're here to talk about Swiss tarot. So I guess we should talk about that, huh? So when you think of Swiss tarot, what do you think of, Mascha? Like when
for me, the first thing that comes to mind is Besançon. It just probably was my first introduction to Swiss tarot with Tarot de Besançon. So, and of course, Besançon has nothing to do with Switzerland, right? Because it's just more kind of city of location that has nothing to do with the origin of Besançon tarot. But yeah, that what comes to mind when I think about Swiss tarot. And second thing comes to mind when I think of Swiss tarot immediately, Hairy Devil.
Yeah.
And of course, like, yeah. So that they're kind of, if you ask me, two main things that come to mind.
Two main things? Okay, I'll name two. Okay, so definitely what you said, for sure. The Hangman. Yeah, the Hangman, which of course isn't Swiss at all. It's from the Hangman that we associate with Switzerland is the Caitlin Joffrey Hangman. The guy is looking straight down, and it's just very different. That one, and then of course the round cups. I think of like there's a word for it. I'm not thinking of it. It starts with a C, a cerebrum or something, a cerebrum. It's a cup with a lid. I forget how it's pronounced, but it's the round cups. That's what I think.
Yeah, because for me they're very like Baroque style of a cup, right? Of a chalice, yeah.
Yeah, and as opposed to the Gothic style.
As we see in Tarot de Marseille, yeah.
Which I love also, But, when we talk about Tarot de Marseille, we talk about Type 1 and Type 2, basically. And, of course, you have the Jean Noblet, which is very different. And that's kind of only useful for me in terms of the early development of tarot in France. But once you look at Tarot de Marseille kind of evolve outside of France, immediately I think of Switzerland, it's really like an amalgamation of all of these traditions. And that's what I really like about Swiss tarot decks, because you just don't know what to expect. When you look at a deck, some of the Swiss tarot decks, I'm kind of looking for something to show. Okay, for instance, the Gassman. So the Gassman is one of my favorites of this, and it's a later one. This is like 1840. I know you like the Gassman. This is the version by Yves Renaud. But you see so many different influences in this deck that's not exactly, you can't easily categorize it. It's kind of its own thing. So, and that's what I like. And it differs from deck to deck, but and just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. So this is the Hangman. This is the very Swiss Hangman. And originally this image originated in the Caitlin Joffrey. If you look, and that's a deck from the middle of the 1500s.
1500s, yeah. It's interesting that even then that was kind of a uniformly type of hangman, right?
Yeah. But
and that's what I love. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting.
No, that's what I love about Swiss decks as well. Probably my third thing is that they're kind of integrative, right? So they kind of integrate and pull from those different lineages that once we learn a little bit more about like our favorite historic decks and history of tarot, you begin to recognize little nuances and you begin to notice different special qualities, right? That are only kind of we see predominantly in our Swiss decks.
Yeah, it's so when what I think of is like, first off, like how did this end up in this deck? So this deck was made in 1840. I don't know of many. I know that I believe the Schaffhaus has one too. This style.
Well, it's classic tarot, but yeah.
What's that?
The classic tarot, the one that was reproduced by AGM.
Yeah,
it's
Tarot Classic.
Like a copy of the Schaffhausen one, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it's very similar to the Gassman, but other than those two decks, I haven't really seen this Hangman in many other decks. I mean, I'm sure they are in Swiss decks, but so we have the deck, the Caitlin Joffrey that's in the middle of the 1500s, and that's the last time that it's the first time that this probably appeared, or at least, I mean, from my standpoint anyway, but it's like there are no other decks in between 1550 something to 1840. Like where did they get this from? That's what I want to know. Was there a tradition that existed that we just don't know about anymore? Like, was this something that carried over, obviously, from Caitlin Joffrey? Or it's to me, it's like, how did they know about it? Or were they kind of paying tribute to a deck?
But you see, I don't know, but we've spoken briefly, right, that, based on like Dammit and Theodipolis, that what we've learned that possibly the decks came to Switzerland, right, in mid-1550.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, maybe it kind of somehow made through to Switzerland and, was kept there somewhere for 300 years before the Gassman kind of found it or was inspired by a particular deck for his blocks.
Yeah. I think about that. I think that it's like, I think this is definitely helps make the case that, there was traditions that came directly from, early on in tarot that we just don't know about today, that because chances are, I mean, Francois Gassman probably didn't know about the Caitlin Joffrey deck. It wasn't like a commonly sold deck. They didn't have the communication capabilities back then. No internet. They didn't have Michael Dummett writing the book or Theory to Paul's. And so he's a card maker, and he's probably copying a tradition that is in existence that we just don't know. And that's a tragedy because, in a way, because it would be nice to know about those so many decks that we have no idea, like all the other amazing things that could have existed in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we're just kind of missing so many things.
Yeah. But so that's a fascinating part, I think. And then just to give people an idea, so this is the devil we're talking about. So the fairy-legged devil, or the fairy trouser devil.
And I guess that's probably, I understand that influence. If it came from, like Italy, maybe, I don't know, then I can understand that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so I posted on Tarot History earlier, and I was trying to think of all the decks that have the Swiss, or, I call it the Swiss devil, but it's a misnomer because it's probably not the Swiss devil. But I was trying to think of other decks, that have that. And there are a lot of them, a lot of Italian.
Yeah. But also the one that we have preserved, like the Tarot of Bologna, right? The Bolognese Tarot. Then we have the Valla Tarot, but they're sort of like late 1700s, right? Late 1700s, about that time, or late 1800s.
Yeah, the Valla is almost 1800s. Like
that's what I'm thinking, like around 1800s, maybe. Yeah. So it's after, right? Because, like, if we look at, and we'll talk more, of course, if we look at Francois Héritier, we're talking about 1730, right? So it's way earlier than,
Exactly. I'm just trying to find the devil here in. Okay. Yeah. So this is the Bolognese Tarot of Bologna. I'll show you the box. This one.
Yeah, so you also got one from Tarot Museum, right? From
Yes. Oh yeah, it's a majors only, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I always wanted to get the full deck, but I'll have to keep hunting for that because
No, it's a very special deck for me. Arna Lando, she gifted it to me. She was so kind.
yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm glad I got that. So that one, and then oh, I was just breaking up. That was kind of weird. Can you? Am I breaking up or?
Oh, for a moment you did, but you were fine. It just was more kind of slowed video.
So that's a cool one too. This is the Hebrero Devil, and this, of course, is one of the hand painted 15th century decks that are lost. We don't have all the cards. This is from Marco Benedetti's Charles VI, with the so-called Charles VI, and he used the Hebrero Devil because, of course, the Devil card is missing from a lot of the early decks for some strange reason.
Yeah.
We don't exactly know why. Hello, Nina. Coming in. I think I'm seeing people say hello to Nina, but shuffle. Yeah. Hi, Nina. How are you? So let's see. We talked about the devil. And of course, Juno and Jupiter, right?
Yeah. Just move things. I'll find them some. So we're talking about like what differentiates, right? Like some of the Swiss tarots from more kind of familiar decks. Yeah, let me just.
Yeah, how about you show a deck? Show one of your Besancons.
One of my Besancons. So this one is not a Swiss one, but I think it's a really good example of Besançon because it's just such a nice production, right, by Yves Renoir. But also what's very interesting that the Jacob Jorge tarot dates 1801, right? So that's what Yves Renoir gives us. But it's actually almost identical images were found or are in the deck. I don't have it, but Illumining Yellow has Tarot de Benoit Besançon by Benoit. Benoit is the surname of the card maker. And that Benoit deck is actually dates mid-1600s. So it's sort of, we're talking about the time of Jean Noblet and Jean Viville, right? And Benoit was in, so what's the city? I think it's somewhere in France, but on the border between Switzerland, Salzburg, maybe?
Maybe Alsace?
Maybe around Alsace, but I think it was Salzburg or Salas, not Salathon for sure. But anyway, so that was a mid-1600s, and this one is very, very heavily based on that, I would say, or inspired, or maybe even like some of the same blocks were used. I don't know, but this one is just, it's a wonderful example, right? So I'll just find the devil first, and then we go from there. So when it comes to let me just show you. I probably didn't even find the devil for this one because I was so excited about. Oh yeah, here it is.
It has the furry trousers because I was.
Yeah. Well, this one you see, like the devil is quite hairy, right? The whole devil is quite hairy, and I love the little happy imps. So yeah, with those devils, they're probably kind of one of the common things that we find in a variety of Besançon decks. But not only, because also with Besançon, when we have a look at our hermits, they're more like, well, this one is even called Capuchin, right? So they're more like a monk-likes, and they dressed in this brown clothing, which was very common in those times for the monks to wear. So that's another kind of quality of that. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Justin, we have Junno and Jupiter, our divine couple, instead of the Pope and the Popes, right, that we see in Tarot de Marseille. And really, like most people probably, the main difference between Tarot de Besançon and Tarot de Marseille for most people is probably, when you kind of read online, when you talk to people, is just having those two cards, right? Although, of course, there are a few other cards. And do you want to talk about why they replaced the Pope and the Popes?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think we can see from like some of the other areas too, from very early on, there was certain groups of religious people who had an issue with the Pope and Popess for, they considered it blasphemy. You have the Pope who is, depict it with like a consort, a female consort, so which is like blasphemous. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so we see a lot of replacements. Like for instance, in the Belgium decks, you have like for instance the Vandenboer. You have the Bacchus, which was the Pope, and then you have the Spanish captain, which replaced the Papess. You know, which is this figure here, which is really kind of unique deck. And the funny part about this is a bit of a side tangent, is that there's a reference to Swiss cards in this deck. It says something about Cartes de Suisse. Yeah, right here. So this is the Ace of Pentacles in. This is a Belgium deck, but it says Cartes de Suisse. You know, like basically Swiss cards, and I believe that they were referring to the game. And that's where they probably got it from. You know, it was dedicated to, like, I guess the game was very popular in Switzerland, so probably in Belgium they may have gotten it from there. But so you see this, and there were other examples too where they used, you know, characters other than the Pope and the Popess to kind of appease the religious people. And so Dummett, in his big, you know, epic tarot book, says that in the Catholic Germanic speaking areas, so mostly the German Catholic areas, this is where the Besançon was most popular, and you would see them there because the Catholics were the one who had more of an issue with it. Whereas in the French speaking Protestant areas, you saw more closely aligned with the traditional. Now, France is a very Catholic country, so it's an interesting kind of thing that the French really never had a problem with it. At least for the most part, you see all throughout France. So maybe it's just the French mentality is a little bit more lackadaisical or whatever. But for some reason, outside of France, it became an issue. So it's really interesting. I mean, to see all different kind of replacements, but the Tarot de Besançon, which we just were looking at, gets its name from the town of Besançon, which is in France, but we don't think that it originated there. You know,
No.
It's just sort of like Tarot de Marseille. You know, Tarot de Marseille wasn't invented in Marseille, but you know, early historians saw a pattern of cards coming from Marseille, so that's where the name comes from. But so that's all the Besançon decks are really, is just replaced, you know, to sort of appease the religious people. They replaced the Pope and the Papess. That's essentially it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also another, I guess, coming back to the cards, another quality with Besançon decks, right? Either Swiss Besançon or French Besançon decks, is they're very type 1 influenced, right? So we have that, our Cupids without a blindfold in decks. We have the moon facing straight ahead, right? And also what I noticed is actually quite interesting when I was looking through the cards. If we have a look at the page of batons, look how close his hands are, and in Tarot de Marseille his hands are spread out through the batons, are quite far away from each other. And the most fascinating thing for me is just to see standing queens in Besançon, and we see the standing queens also in this is one JJ Swiss, right? But again, I guess it's not a rule for Besançon, because if we look at François-Henri Besançon, we don't see that. If we look at Pablo Rabledo Besançon, which is not a historic deck, but based on his research, it's pretty much Tarot de Marseille patterning and canon, but added just the Junno and Jupiter, right? But in these decks, we see the queens standing. So again, from one JJ Swiss. So that's kind of, for me, has been quite like interesting and fascinating.
Yeah.
So I mean blindfolded Cupid, not non-blindfolded.
Yeah, exactly.
Was
one looking angel in the Lover's card, and the standing queens is really interesting because you don't really see that anywhere else. Even in ones you don't see that. That's something that's very unique. that's not something that would immediately jump out to me, but I remember reading about it, and I'm glad that you pointed it out because it's a very unique feature, you know.
Yeah, but it's also kind of almost add more rulership as well, right? So they're standing in their power, which is kind of,
Yes,
yeah, changes probably how we would interpret the cards.
definitely. And so that's an interesting thing, and I would love to hear from everyone else too. Like, how do you guys read with the Juno and Jupiter? You know, do you read Juno as the papess and Jupiter as the Hierophant or the Pope, or do you read them differently? And so I will ask you, Masha, how do you?
I wanted to ask you.
Well, I would
Well,
like to. I would like to. Do you want to ask me first? I don't.
no. Let's go. Like, let's discuss first because the Juno and Jupiter. Who are they? What are they? Right.
Yeah.
So they're the deities, right? And they are the major, really, probably the oldest. There was three, right? So Juno and Jupiter, Minerva. So two oldest deities from Roman pantheon, right? So it's kind of Roman older deities, and Juno and Jupiter, they're considered a divine couple in the pantheon, and they are husband and wife, but also their brother and sister,
Yeah.
with their father being Saturn. But I'm kind of going to leave the Saturn legend behind. So when we look at the Juno, what qualities were attributed? What was she goddess of or for? Right? So she was that goddess of love. She was the goddess of marriage, and she
Yeah.
was a protectress. Especially she protected the women through all the stages of women's life. So also kind of a divine mother, if you will. She was the protector of women who were expecting children, right? And through all like stages of women's life. And often also she was depicted as a warrior. She often in one JJ Swiss, let me just find her, she is depicted with a peacock as well, and I probably won't find it, but oh yeah, here she is. So you see, like in one JJ Swiss, she is really depicted like a warrior woman, right? So standing there with that peacock. So yeah, and also with Juno being that sacred deity, one of the major female deities, she is linked with that vital energy, with vital force, right? So of course I would read it differently than I would read the Popes. And if we look at Jupiter, and Jupiter is the god of light, so he is the god of light and thunder and lightning, but also he's quite like a fiery god, but also he is a protector. So both of them protect, but I find Juno, she is more protecting, more kind of on the yin side, right? So that kind of protection of the divine feminine, of the women, of the nation. And Jupiter, he is more protector of all aspects of life, right? So Jupiter, of course, in Greek mythology became Zeus. So yeah, the way I would read it when it comes to the Pope and the Popes, they are very stationary for me in Tarot de Marseille, right? So yeah, they kind of give you a look where they're looking, but when we look at Juno and Jupiter in Besançon decks outside of, because one JJ Swiss, of course, it was a later one, but I'm kind of referring to Zerga, but also it's a bit of a later one, but it's based on kind of very similar to that mid 1650s. So we can see them moving, right? So they're kind of moving almost like in a dance, and Jupiter has his, well, this one doesn't have a thunderbolt, but some kind of real arrows there for lightning.
Yeah.
And the peacock here is featured with the Juno, but both of them are moving, right? So for me, those cards are a little bit more cards of action and movement. And the difference for me, because, you know, in Tarot de Marseille, when we see the Pope can be associated with the marriage and tradition, right? Where Juno is the goddess of marriage, but in a different way, right? So it's more like love and marriage. So it's kind of in Besançon, Juno would have a bit more kind of the, especially if you do like relationship readings, right? It would have more that commitment and marriage and relationship and love affairs aspect to me. And opposed to Jupiter, that I wouldn't read him like a Pope at all. And again, it's just different qualities, right? So he's protecting, but also he's protecting through that action
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it explains.
No, that's great. I think that's really interesting. The issue with me is that I'm not very familiar with Roman deities so much, and so I look at Juno more as Hera, and I look at
Yeah, but
Jupiter.
yeah, they're quite yeah. Because even Hera, I think, had a peacock as well, right? As the
Yeah,
sacred animal. Yeah,
yeah.
and
So basically,
Jupiter is Zeus.
so Joey Luna is saying here. Let's see. We could read that card as we interpret the Juno asteroid in astrology, goddess of marriage and protector of women, also commitment. So, like union, the lover's card is a choice. Juno union. That's a good
Yeah.
point, and that's
Yeah. Because
interesting.
that's how I see it, more like that sacred union, sacred marriage, relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, almost like the Empress for me, almost like the Empress, but with a kind of the protection of like relationships and like marriages, love. But that could apply to any kind of relationship, I think. And of course you can also, I don't read enough with Best and Songs to kind of have like a solid theory. I do read with them a lot. I read more with the Bacchus and the Spanish Catholic, so I have more practice with that. But I think it would be also very visual kind of thing, like you said, with the pure kind of face like looking in this direction or that direction, kind of in a functionary kind of way.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's how I read. You see, that's the thing. Like when it comes to Tarot de Marseille and Besançon, of course, I'm very influenced by Camelia Elias. So I read by a function and by the image, right? So that's why for me, I just kind of, for me, what's the function for me culturally, what I've learned, what I know about Juno and Jupiter, what's the function and the reading? Is it like, do the cards, how do they answer question, and how is it like a love reading that you're doing? Is it some kind of other advice reading you're doing? And how those cards interact with the relationship with each other and how they function. So that's why, yeah, I don't, I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm not overlaying the meanings of what I know about the Pope culturally, the Popes, right, over the Juno and Jupiter cards when I read with Tarot de Besançon. Yeah.
I've done that before. I mean, I've done that in situations. I don't do it often, and I think, but I have done that, especially in the very beginning stages, like when I first got them. When I got a Best in Song, I was like, how am I going to read this? And I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to read it just like the Papess, But of course, now I don't do that anymore. But I tend to read more visually with the Best in Songs.
I'm very curious, Justin, because you said that, and that's the thing. Like, I've been really enjoying. This is actually Pablo Robledo's Vandenborg, right? I keep in here. So you said that you read with this deck more with Beckers and the Spanish Captain.
I read with the Auto the most. The Adams.
The Hato, yeah. But it also has the Spanish Captain, right? So I'm curious how you read those two cards. Because Spanish Captain for me has been very tricky. Like Beckers, I was like all over it very easily, But Spanish Captain for me was like,
I think I read him more like, how there's like the kind of reversed meaning of the fool, like folly, a buffoon, kind of buffoonery, behaving like you're someone that you're not, something like that. Like it's kind of complicated, but if you look at the it's from the Commedia dell'arte, which is theater of that time, and I think it's loosely based from like one of the wars with the Spanish, kind of depicted the Spanish sort of that way. But I don't not really remembering the full story of that, but there's some sort of influence with that, and so. He was kind of like a bullshit artist, I mean, basically, he was like a con man, and that's kind of how I read him, but also very visually too. It's interesting, but the Bacchus is basically Dionysus, It's the Roman god of wine.
Oh yeah, Bacchus, it's wine god. That's why I love him so much.
Really, I mean, like fascinating kind of. I just had it in my hand. Let me see if I can. Well, it's here on the box, so you can see it's box, and that's the Bacchus. And he's sitting on the barrel, kind of having a good time. And so, I mean, very functionary kind of way to read that would be, having a good time, enjoying life, maybe overindulgence, something like that. So, it's very interesting.
Yeah, but it's interesting why they decided to, because normally, we have Pope and Popes. It's sort of like we look at them as the pair of cards, right? And Junno and Jupiter, for me, just was like, it really made sense very quickly. But Spanish Captain and Beckers was a bit challenging for me, because I was thinking, it's fun though, because I was thinking, like, did they kind of try to joke around on this, just to kind of replace the Pope and Popes with those?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what the Bacchus is. I mean, if you think that he's replacing the Pope, they replaced it with the Bacchus. Like the Pope is this like serious kind of religious figure, head of the religion, and then it's like, well, if you read, it's almost like the Pope for the rebels. It's like he's the complete opposite of the Pope. He's indulgent. He's the god of ecstasy and wine and so it's definitely, there's a rebellious quality to it, I think. And that's probably not by accident,
Yeah, I don't think it was an accident at all. I just want to know.
Yeah.
I just wish they left us some explanation behind.
So I put Wyoming Wind's comment up here because I kept forgetting to answer. So is there a historic deck that is the basis of the 1JJ, or is it a creation unto itself? There is a historic deck, right? Mascha, do you know?
I'm not sure if it was originally the Schaffhausen deck, but yeah, you were saying that possibly 1860. I've read like what I found like mid 1800s. Yeah. That was the base. I don't think it's exactly the same, but it's pretty much very, very close.
I was
copy of it.
The other deck, which is the Tarot de Epinal.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, okay. So Grimaud printed the Tarot de Epinal, which is an interesting deck. It's also Besançon, I believe, and I don't own a copy of it, but it's based on another historic deck whose name.
Yeah.
But if you spell it's spelled Epinal. It's a very rare deck, but it was printed by Grimaud, in fairly recent times. I don't know how late it lasted, but Epinal, right? This is how? Thank you, Joey. That's how it's spelled, and
I have to look it up.
Yeah, it's interesting. You probably will like it. My issue with it is that there are kind of French and English titles in that weird Grimaud way. The version, but there is a version with just French, and that's the one I want to get.
Yeah, you see, like that's how I ended up with the vintage copy of 1JJ Swiss, because the one that I had, like I didn't have a problem with the cardstock or anything, but the titles in English for my Besançon deck, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, I don't mind the English titles by themselves. I prefer one or the other, Of course, I prefer, if it's a French deck, I prefer French titles, especially if it's a historic deck. If it's a modern Marseille deck, that doesn't really bother me, especially if it's created that way, like the Vincent Battisti deck.
Yeah, well, that would bother you, because in the modern version, I don't remember whether it was, but no, yeah, I think it actually was the coins, right, of 1JJ Swiss. The English one was Ace of Pentacles. Like, where's the Pentacles?
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. So those things, they kind of bothered me
Pentacles
a lot.
That's blasphemous. Now I call them pentacles all the time, but it's because when you grow up learning the Rider-Waite-Smith, you tend to kind of think of coins as pentacles. It's something you don't even really think about. So my version is French.
Yeah, mine is French now as well. Yeah, I passed the other one on.
This one is in the 2-part box. I don't know exactly what year, but I want to say 1970s probably.
Mine 1971. Is your golden one at the back?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's. And yours, does it have something written at the bottom?
Complete instructions or something?
Yeah, so you see, I think yours was for the copy that was made for distribution in the US, and this one, I think it just was left in Europe or something. I did mention it on my video, so they're exactly the same decks, but this one just only says tarot cards on the front of the box. There is nothing else written on the front.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially they're identical.
Yeah, that's my only copy of that deck too. I don't own another copy. I should get a modern one just to kind of use, but I don't think I would really read with it much. I was reading with it today, actually. I pulled it out in preparation with this. I was like, I just want to do a couple of readings with it.
But the cardstock is so nice from the 70s. It's like, it feels like really special.
Yeah, it is really nice. I do like that. So yeah, I would imagine the modern one's probably like a little more, it's modern cardstock, so I wouldn't feel as bad probably shuffling it up and using them, And I was just looking over here, and I was like, what deck can we talk about next? Because there are so many Swiss decks.
Do you want to talk about your favorite?
Which one is that? Or the one I'm keeping a secret, or my favorite?
Both. I want to see the secret one first.
The secret one is this one is my favorite. It's so hard when you say the favorite. It's like there's a level of commitment that stays with the favorite. It's like once you declare what your favorite is, it's got to almost stay that way. So I'm like, it's my favorite today.
That's fine.
Tomorrow, I don't know what it will be. So my latest obsession of Swiss decks, let's put it that way, is this one here, which is from Deviant Moon. This is a beautiful deck. So Deviant, what's his name from Deviant Moon?
Patrick Valenza.
Valenza, thank you. Sorry, Patrick. I saw some of his early, facsimiles, and I wasn't really thrilled with them. The Kirchner just didn't speak to me, and there was another one he did that I was like kind of on the Gasman. I think it's like the revived Gasman or something. I wasn't really crazy about them, but this last deck, I remember him posting. He's building an amazing collection, and he posts about it on Tarot History a lot. And what he does is he acquires these historic decks, and then he prints them. He prints his own facsimiles. And I remember him, announcing that he got this one. So this is the Joseph Henri Roquius. Let me show you the name. Oh, wrong side. Sorry. There we go. Joseph Henri Roquius.
So it's like 1800s, like early 1800s?
Yeah, so this is 1816. So, a little before the Gasman, early 19th century. And it's just so pretty. I really, really like the majors. But then I recognized the last name. There's a few Roquias. There's a Jacques Roquius, which we don't have a deck, as far as I know yet. There is a copy of the facsimile somewhere in one of the museums. And I have looked at that, and it's really an interesting deck, the Jacques Roquius. But I have a copy of the Claude Roquius printed by Eve. And I had asked Eve, I said, I love this. Look at the Hangman. Look at his little pointy shoes.
Yeah.
I just love that. I don't know. It's such a cool deck. And the greens in this, it's like a mint green, kind of reminiscent of the Gasman a little bit,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not quite the same. I mean, at least the version I have, it's not as bright green, but it's very subtle green. But I just love it. I don't know. I love this deck. It's a perfect size. Here's our monk kind of hermit. And it's complete type 2. Let me find the magician, because the magician's face is really interesting, So just look at the face of the magician. It's a very unique deck. I don't know. I really, really like it. And I love the pointy shoes all throughout the deck. I mean, you see the magician has those pointy kind of shoes.
Yeah, because the Wilfred Houdwine, he's renewed Millennium Tarot, right? You have the original Millennium, right? The largest size. Yeah. So I've got the mini of the renewed one, and one of the changes that he made, especially in the cards of royalty, like court cards and some kind of other cards, that the round toe shoes, they became pointy, and it was kind of he was asking a question, so it was kind of within the fashion of those times that it was actually quite common.
I wonder why he did that. Oh, because it was common, you think, or?
I think it's just the more he researches, the more he updates things. Yeah, but he's got like the whole kind of thingy that he'll be probably revealing and publishing on questions and answers of those different differences and choices. He actually has quite a few of them in the book, but I don't remember point issues been there, so I messaged him directly. You know, like in the big book that I have by him.
Yeah. I still have to get a copy of that. Yeah, with him, there's probably a reason. You know, like if he made a change to it, there's probably a historic reason or like some sort of reason. Because Eve was telling me before, he was like, you know, there he gets these ideas and you know he changes his mind about things. There's the one of your favorites.
Yeah, beautiful.
I just like the colors. I think it's a really, really fascinating deck. Here's the sun, which I really, really love.
And what kind of cardstock those, you know, I mean, I have Patrick Valenza's Triunfo de la Luna, you know, more like the deck that he creates. Is it the same cardstock he uses or different than he would use for his?
It's possible, but they're square cut, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It is very possible that these are, you know, the same kind of paper. They're actually, it's pretty good paper. I think it does feel like playing card paper. You know, it's not like business card paper or like, you know, that kind of, you know, it has a really nice feel to it. Actually, you know, it's very similar to the Noble by Peterson.
Oh, okay, nice, yeah.
It reminds me of that, you know. So I'm very happy with this. And that's the Joseph Henri Roquius. And I'm going to show you the Claude Roquius too, which is the other one I have. So the Jacques Roquius is interesting because the Devil card in that one is, and I've never seen it in any other decks, at least that I can think of, is holding snakes. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy. I don't have a picture of that because it hasn't been really printed. So this is Claude Roquius. This is 1754. So Eve told me it's part of the same family. They were originally French, and then they moved to Switzerland. And that one was, I think, Saint Sulpice or one of those. I can't remember the name of the town. And then this one, this one's Saint Sulpice. And that one, the other one is very close by. And this is, of course, very, very traditional.
Tarot de Marseille, yeah.
Yeah.
Was
so
the
now,
devil type 2,
this, instead of the wand, like, you know, the scepter that the devil is holding, the Jacques Roquius, he's holding like two snakes, which is really, really cool. But this one is Claude Roquius, and also has like there's some similarities. Like the devil has, you know, there's a label La Mort on there, which exists in the Joseph Henri. But the Hangman does not have pointy shoes, unfortunately, to my dismay. I like the pointy shoes.
I do too. I'm a short person. I like pointy shoes.
But yeah, this is very traditional Tarot de Marseille, you know. Very, very type 2. But, you know, it's a cool deck. I like that it's big. It's one of the bigger decks. You know, it's like longer. One of the longer ones that Eve puts out. Oh, that's why I couldn't find it. It was under the box. Let's see. The town. I'm going to have to look at the Two of Pentacles, or the Two of Coins, because I almost said Pentacles, Mascha.
I'm okay when you say it, but when they write it in English, that bothers me on French text.
So which other decks do you have that from Switzerland that you like?
Well, I have two decks by François Henri, and this one, well, I have a favorite and a Tarot de Marseille, but they actually were created by the same card maker. You can see the size difference already in the boxes, right? So the earliest by François Henri, and it's a Swiss card maker, right? So it was produced, published in Switzerland in Solothurn, city of Solothurn, and this one is the 1718. It's a Tarot de Marseille, right? So it's a historic Tarot de Marseille. It's a historic Tarot de Marseille type 2. And they're the backs. But I mean, I really like it because it was nice for me to have both decks by the same card maker, because we don't really have often have the luxury of that, right? To have two decks of two, I guess, different, not really different styles, but of different, I don't know, lineages, if you will, right? Besançon, type 1, type 2, Tarot de Marseille. But and I think like this one, the colors are very soft, and I was very lucky. I actually picked this deck up in one of my local crystal shops that they have like a section where they sell books and decks as well. So it was there, and I went and
Really?
picked it up. But yeah, the colors are lovely, and
Oh, they don't have any Eve's deck where I'm at. They don't have them in the shops.
yeah, they stopped having them now here in Australia, but they used to have, actually, I've seen a few of his, especially the Hiri and Claude Bourdelle ones. They were quite common in a few shops.
Okay.
So yeah, with Tarot de Marseille, that's what we were talking about, more gothic-y looking cup, right? With this pointy, little spiky tops there,
Yeah.
that we see in Tarot de Marseille. So yeah, this is a Tarot de Marseille, but because it's Swiss, it still kind of had this brown cloak on a hermit, right? So it's not blue or some other colors that we see in Tarot de Marseille from France. But my favorite deck when it comes to Swiss
Mascha,
decks.
before you go, I wanted to ask you something about the deck. So that particular deck, if you look at the Two of Coins,
Two of Coins, yeah, I'll have a look. Yeah, you talk, and
there's
I'll
no
look.
name on it, and but they think I was reading it earlier. I would like to see if like Houdan or anybody has written extensively about the reasoning on why they. I would like to know why they think that it is Francois Henri. Like I'm sure I trust Eve enough.
This actually says Francois here on Two of Coins.
Oh, it does say it.
Yeah, you see, like Francois, Francois is a bit blurry, but you can see Harry very, very obviously there.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Because if you read, okay, I'm probably confused.
Because also, like he gives little cards there with his decks, and he said, like, yeah, it's definitely the same card maker that produced this deck, Tarot de Marseille, and that the little Besançon that I will show you about
You know what it
now.
was? I think it had to do with him being the engraver. Because it says right here, okay, so Solvern together with Freiburg is the biggest foyer of production of tarots in Germanic Switzerland. Certain clues urge us to believe that Francois Henri is also the engraver of this simple but attractive tarot. It is the only known. So I was confused. I was thinking that it was a guess that he was the creator of this, but you also have the FH on the plate there.
Yeah.
Which so I read that kind of wrong. I was thinking that it was just like sort of not known for sure that this was Francois Henri, but it is known.
Yeah.
So.
But of course, I have my favorite. But my favorite is really I Stand Up. It's been my favorite for over 2 years now. I received it in July 2019, yeah. And this is the little one, the Francois Henri tarot. This is a Tarot de Besançon, but it's not that puristic Tarot de Besançon, and that's what I like. And I was mentioning when you were saying that, how those decks, they feel more like integrative of the Italian, French, and German, French and Swiss own lineages, right? Influences. So this deck for me, it's perfect because I love my Noble tarot, and it's smaller. It also has very similar, I guess, proportions of the characters like Noble tarot would. You can see how small the head of the Temperance and the body is quite large. Of course, it does have Junno and Jupiter, right? Since it's a Besançon deck. What I like also that the Fool is Le Fool, but also he's got his buttocks, but he doesn't have any hanging beads, which makes this deck way easier to read for other people. Yeah. For me, that's why, like, I guess because of Noble, I absolutely love the cheekiness of Noble, but reading for other people, especially those ones who are a little skeptical or maybe new to tarot, I kind of like to have those images a little bit more kind of more appealing to them. So we can see the Hangman is very type 1 and very noble-ish, with the little kind of hand sticking out above the shoulders. I do love my death. This one is the named one, but I do love my death walking over to the past. It's just one personal thing. Of course, the lovers, blindfolded Cupid. So it's kind of mixture of that noble influence, right? But then we have that rounded cup, which is really wonderful, right? And we have the Hermit, which is very monkey as well, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like with the third eye or something there. So yeah, type 1 moon.
It's such a cool
World
deck.
was... Sorry?
It's such a cool deck, that Uri song.
Yeah. And then the devils, my favorite devils are hairy devils. So we have that integration there. But when it comes to the minors, they're very noble, right? So we have sitting queens. The hands of the page of batons are further away from each other. But it doesn't bother me in any way, because this deck has all the qualities that I really, really love in my historic decks. And it gives me that perfect blend of Swiss and my favorite noble. And the magician has the dice on the table, clear dice. And
breaker for you, I know that.
Yeah, and no middle finger, so it makes it really easy to reach for others. Not like I mind. Noble is one of my favorite decks, right? So, but this one is just it's my little treasure. I can't say enough good things about it.
Makes you wonder if there were, like, again, we go back to the idea of the decks that you just don't know about, and like, I doubt it was Noble that they based it on. It was just the same kind of canon, because there were probably many decks like Noble at the time. You just don't know about them. You know what I mean? Like, that same tradition probably existed, and it's a shame that we just don't have them. Hopefully we find them someday, maybe in somebody's basement or in a garage sale or something. It'll pop up somewhere.
Yeah.
Be nice. So let's see what other decks. We're kind of winding down. I think we showed a lot of the Swiss decks. There is one I really, really love. Well, of course, the Claude Burdell is like probably one of the most iconic. And we talked about it, but we didn't. Did we talk about the Claude Burdell?
No, not much, because I don't have a Claude Burdell. I only have sort of like.
We were talking. Yeah, we were talking. I'm probably a little breaking up right now, right?
Yeah, a little bit for the last.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on today. The internet's just annoying. This is Eve Renaud. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. I'm still frozen.
Yeah, you're kind of freezing a little.
Okay, you show something. Hopefully I'll clear up by that time. I'll show this in a minute once.
Oh, I can show the Golden Tarot, Marcel. So this is a Los Carabillo deck, right? And it's based on this deck that you're talking about, Justin, the Claude Burdell, 1751. And but this one is just like, I think it's a very fun reproduction of it, because it's golden, so it has this foiling and the shine. The cardstock is amazing. I had this deck for a while, but it's just so nice. It's very well. Of course, it's type 2, and I think many of us are quite familiar with the images because of the popularity of Claude Burdell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know why I don't have that deck.
It's just so fun to do readings for others with this one.
Yeah, I've been into the gold decks lately. I just got I got a gold Wade Smith deck, actually. That I like. But that looks really like it has like some kind of details in the gold too, like some designs that look really.
Yeah, and those Swiss Tarot de Marseille designs, I think the gold just brings them up. Yeah, and so it's not like, well, we see like it says here, Tarina 2017 Los Carabillo, right? But they do say in the box that it's actually Claude Burdell, based on Claude Burdell deck. Yeah. But I think it's like really fun to have.
I'm just seeing Joey's comment about the Epinal. I'm sorry, Joe, I wasn't paying attention, but you were talking about the Epinal earlier. Curious, some people think it's a homage to Vosges, region in France, but it also means wheat and spine. So it's a puzzle. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to, I should have sold that when we were talking about it, but that's something I have to get this deck because I've looked at it on Amazon so many times and I almost purchased it and I just never got it.
Yeah, the backs are not blingy, but I said, yeah, looks beautiful, the bling, Joel. I said, yeah, the bling.
Yeah.
But I think with this deck, with Marseille Tarot, I don't know, it's just something unique to have in the collection. And I actually do it with that. I love it. I should actually do it more. I pulled the thing out because it's the only like Burdell deck that I have. So
yeah, we talked about that before. You told me that you really liked it. And I remember, I can't remember if we were maybe in a reading group or some we were somewhere and we were talking about it, and you said that you liked it. And I just that's why I don't own for whatever reason. This is actually beautiful, and I love when Eve's decks come in paper. You know, I just love when they come wrapped in paper. It's just a nice kind of thing. So this is the Burdell, and you know, it's a classic. First off, my favorite part about Burdell is the coins. You know, the coin suit. I just love the design of his coins, and the pips are just phenomenal. The majors, there's a very orangey color that I know some folks aren't crazy about. We won't mention any names. Mandy.
She's not here.
Not here. But she doesn't like the orange colors in it. She always says, but it doesn't bother me. I think it's really pretty. But again, the coins are just one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite parts. And nice court cards, you know. But it's a very unique looking deck. Here's some other court cards. Before I go blurry, I'm trying to show you. Very possible that my I'm having a lot of technical problems today. Oh, the wands also. Oh, here we go. It's back. The batons. They have that very kind of round Swiss look to it, you know.
Yeah.
By the way, we didn't really talk about how you always seem to see the round batons in the Swiss decks, you know. Let me see what else. Oh, and here are the cups. Look for the Ace of Cups if I can find it. Oh, that's really beautiful. Okay, look. Okay, so the cups are, well, first off, the ace is very different than what we see in a lot of others. You know, it's not quite the Gothic style and it's not quite the round. It's just very different, you know. There's a lot of detail in there, but better than the ace, I actually like the Two of Cups. I just really, really like this.
Very pretty, yeah.
Very fancy looking card. You see that in its day, it was probably considered a very luxurious deck of cards, you know?
Yeah. Because it like reminds us of Gassman, right? But we're looking at like almost 100-year difference, right? So it's 1751 over 1840, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And like 100 years in technology and production, right? It's a long time.
It was a long time, yeah. It was. Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, when you see like some of these really beautiful French decks, there were other technologies that were, you know, you see, for instance, in the Italian decks, they were using like copper plates. It was very much different than woodblock. You know, woodblock isn't as detailed and pretty. That's why you see Marseille-based decks from Italy, the details are just so much nicer and prettier. I'm sorry, I'm like breaking up again, but
you sound fine. Yeah.
Yeah, the sound's okay. It seems it's image quality.
Are you back?
I'm back. Yeah, once I stop moving, it seems like when I'm fidgeting around, that's when it breaks up. I'll try not to move too much.
Joey Luna was asking that whether we have a cat tarot by Los Carabia. He said, I'm a dog person, but my dad gave this deck. Are you highlighting it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas, and it's an amazing reader.
I've almost got that deck a few times. I see it all the time, but I never jumped on it. I like cat decks, but I'm very picky with them. I don't have any Marseille cat decks. I don't think like.
No, I don't have any Marseille animal decks. The
Yeah.
closest I have a mermaid one, the from
Yeah.
Marshmallow Tarot people. What's the name of it?
Actually, have it right here.
Tarot Siren. Yeah, that's the only one that I have like with tails. But no, I don't have any. I'm just looking at my shelves here.
It's yeah, this is
that's the one. Yeah,
the siren.
I
Yeah.
like it quite a bit, but I
I
didn't
like
use
it too.
in
It's
the
small and
summer.
fun,
Go figure.
and it does have very kind of Claude Burdell-ish type coins. Actually, they look almost like Burdell a little bit. The coins, very detailed. I like that. How about that Dinosaurs de Marseille deck? That was one I almost got.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
I know you're a purist, and I'm almost the same way. Like when it comes to
Not really.
I
I like the integrative ones. You see, it's not the pure Marseille, it's not the pure Noblet, but
no,
yeah.
I mean like, purist in terms of originality. Like you're not like somebody who's going to be into like Cat Marseille decks or you know like variations. Like there's one that I'm seeing now that's being created by Stephen Bright that looks actually really amazing. I can't remember the name of it, but they're creating a modern spin-off of the Tarot de Marseille. Him and I forget the person's name, but they're collaborating. But I really like it because they're, even though it's kind of a modern twist, they're sort of keeping that classic look to it. It's somehow manages to stay classic, even though modern twist. There's a lot of added things, and so I'm not really a fan of that. Like they don't typically like, like different modern variations, but sometimes they do. It's few and far between.
Yeah, I think it's just it just needs to be something when you see it, when you like it, it's just that spark. Because you see, I never thought that I would read with an animal deck, but in February I just pretty much been reading with this one every day. I'm thinking about animals. If somebody creates Chappie Tarot, I wouldn't say no to.
True.
Like every card featuring Chappie. It's okay.
That's funny.
Or all the dogs that I had, all the animals, combination of cats and dogs that I used to have.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I would be the same way. Like if I can get a tuxedo cat tarot, I'd probably like it. But I do like some of the cat decks, like if the Fells Arcane was good. There's some of them I like.
Did you see Khodorovsky Mages? The Khodorovsky, his cat, those cats are quite cute.
Yeah, it comes with a book too, doesn't it? Isn't a...
Yeah, I think it's more for children, because it was the French edition that I passed on, that I had. It was with the French book in French and those cards, but I think they just republished it in English now through Los Carabios, through somebody in Europe, one of those printing companies. Yeah, but Joey said that cat deck works for Joey. Yeah, but that's the thing. You see, that's just kind of finding something that immediately resonates. Because for me, you see, this deck. I mean, I got it because it was smaller, but I opened it. I did my first reading, and it just was that immediate, I guess, connection, if you will. And you would think it's just peep deck. It's just historic crossed wands, curved swords, but there's something magic about this one. And for 2.5 years, that's been my
I agree.
Yeah,
I like that one, and I know he was talking about when she said, "Oh, I wonder what Mascha's favorite's going to be." She was talking about that her age. She knew that one.
Yeah. No, I mean, I actually been. If you ask me for reading for others as well, I've been using Jerga quite a lot.
Yeah.
And one of my friends here as well in Australia, and you know him, he's on tarot group David Pekotic, I think he's David anyway, but he's on Tarot de Marseille group, and he pointed it out for me, because you see, I had this deck, but I didn't read much with it. I loved it all the time, but that tower, that now for me, when I pick the deck up, if I have to do readings about my writing and creativity, that's the deck I use. I'm just trying to find the tower because probably will be the last card. Thank you, Joey. You are awesome too. Yeah, there you go. You see, like it's the tower. You see, the lightning is the feather.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's for me, like this one has become my kind of creativity deck, writing when I have my block,
Yes.
procrastination, that's my block on writings.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very type 1. The lightning comes from the tower towards the sun, and that's interesting. She's like, well, why did they depict the lightning coming from the sun? But I'm
Yeah, but
guessing.
also you don't see many lightnings that are like feather, they really like, I think we were talking in the group somewhere, but 2 or 3 decks we found when the lightning looks like clearly like a feather.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. What do you have any kind of feeling about what that might be, or when you say it looks like a
Yeah.
feather, like what do you?
Well, yeah, I don't, because you see, like it's like a feather, but then it has little arrows at the bottom there,
Yeah,
and the sun has a little, or the lightning from the sun here has a little face, which is quite cool.
yeah. I wonder if they thought that it was just from the lightning what came from the sun.
Yeah, I
Back.
don't know, but I kind of like to have that feather of an angel. I
Yeah,
don't know what would be the reference to
sure.
it.
No, absolutely. They
Hmm.
do look like feathers, and it's coming from the tower towards the sun, as opposed to from the sun towards the tower, which you see in other later versions.
No, it comes from the sun towards the tower, because even the
Does it?
arrows
Hold
pointing.
it up.
Yeah, yeah. Even like the arrows are pointing. You see like tiny little arrows. They're even pointing.
Oh
Like
yeah, you're right because of the
yeah.
arrow.
Mm.
Yeah, but there are some of the type 1s seem to look like they're coming from the tower. But Chris Kelly brought that up too once. He was like, "Does it really?" Because I think I read that. I think it was no, it was DePaul's that said it in an article. He pointed it out. Whichever it was, the direction shifted. It looked like it sort of changed in the type 2. In type 1, let me see if I have one handy. Hey, what I'm talking about. I've showed it in other videos, but okay. So here's type 1, and here's type 2. So let's see.
I can find the dull type one because I've got my mages only here.
I got you. I got the Rolashon right here. So
Yeah, because I've got the hand stenciled one from Roxanne.
okay, so that's the Rolashon, right? Same
Mm.
thing, but it looks like it's kind of coming out of the tower towards the sun in a way. But it's probably not. It just looks that way.
But it is though, because if you follow the little kind of parts, like how they're moving, they do move from the from the tower towards the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, very much to me as well.
And then this one, find it. Of course, I won't be able to find it now. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so this is type 1, and this is type 2.
Is it the convert that you pulled for type 2?
This one is the Convaria.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very kind of different setup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and that one's more like the type 1, is what I was saying. But of course, the arrows make it different. Like you were saying, the Jurger. I had that one in my bag. I've been using it a lot, Mascha. The Jurger.
You too. Yeah. It just It almost seems, because you and I will probably have enough historic decks, but once I pull out something from my shelf, I just can't stop using it. I just seem to be like, or once I learn something, like with the tower and just seeing that feather, or just some kind of find a special thing. Probably that's why for me this deck is so special, because there are so many special things, and I love about different types of tarot combined in one. And once I do that, it just seems to become my go-to, really.
Yeah. Well, this was really, really fun, Mascha. Do you have anything coming up on your channel or anything you want to talk about before we go?
On my channel, I'll be doing more kind of a joint live chats as well. I can't really reveal the people I'm planning to invite or invited. So I will be doing those later in the year, and I will be doing probably a few videos on geeking out on Marseille, talking about like Marseille historic decks. And I have a few decks that I received over Christmas, RWS based, that I want to do for my series side by side with RWS, just placing well, this deck I'm really enjoying. One of my new one, Mystical Tarot, Mystical Moments Tarot side by side, let's say, with an original RWS. So that's kind of series I have on my channel. And yeah, so I will be continuing this year. And the main thing is just for me being back on YouTube. So I'll be making probably more little walkthroughs as usual, because I just kind of accumulated a few things that I wanted to do, like deck reviews and share with my subscribers. But yeah, but otherwise it's on my channel. And now we're fortunate that we can do community posts, right? So the little things that we announced. And I want to do more things on Instagram, because it's probably one of my kind of preferred medium over Facebook, and doing like little mini videos or mini announcements of what's coming on up on my channel through my Instagram page. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't been making videos almost at all, really. Like the last 2 months, I've been making like maybe one every 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm hopefully going to start making some more videos. I was on a winter break. You were on a summer break. I was on a winter break. So now that spring is coming, hopefully I will be back.
Yeah, it looked like we're very aligned. February need a break.
And so, hi Nancy, thanks for joining us. You can always watch back, no worries. We went live at kind of an odd time tonight. It was we went 6 o'clock, so it's 7:21. We're actually at least according to this clock, it's 7:21. I don't know. That could be wrong, but we're only in an hour and 20 minutes, which is great. But thank you for coming, everybody. This was really fun and a pleasure as always. We just had a nice little chat about Swiss tarot and all things related, so you can go back always and rewatch. But anyway, everybody, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your evening or day or night or wherever you're at in the world. And thanks for tuning in. Love and peace, everybody. And thank you, Mascha. Hang in there.
Thank you for having me. And thank you, everybody who joined us for a chat. And please do, because I'll be checking in comments underneath the live chat, share which Swiss decks you have and which ones you love. And if we have some other ones that we haven't shared, please share, because we both probably, I can say for both of us, that we would love to hear from all of you, and we would love to know what's maybe even like missing in our collection, because I love Tarot de Besançon, but it's just not that many available. So if you can share, if you know of some other ones that we haven't spoken about.
Yeah, very cool. And Wyoming wins it. Thank you. Love seeing all of your decks. Yes, absolutely. And who knows, we might make another tag out of this one. We have to show them up close again.
Okay, yes, we do.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.